soul of the blue crew from the ashes of 0 and then 16 we rose with the chip on our shoulder that everyone knows. I stand with the faithful, the loud and the loyal on Michigan soil where the battle lines coil. I pledge allegiance to the shield and the main through the lake effect snow and the November rain. One nation under God, moving the chains with the fire of the city coursing through our veins. Hey! Invisible spirit, upon them will crack. We got the whole league's targets on our back. Watch the war room flicker, watch the vision take hold, turning late round flyers into Detroit gold. He's the master of the board, the dealer of the deck, putting every expert opinion in check. Put every expert opinion in check. He doesn't follow trends, he creates the hook. Quiet in the room, let Brad cook. To the trenches we swear, where the dirty work's done, where the game isn't played, it's physically won. I promise to roar till my vocal cords fray, to believe in the homes and the Brad chosen way. We don't want the flash, we don't want the glitz, just the hunters who thrive in the heart of the grit. Liberty from the cellar, and justice for the years of pain. No more same old lions, just the kings of the northern reign. I pledge my allegiance, my heart and my roar, to the team that we love and the team we adore. With kneecaps for breakfast and victory in sight, we're the Detroit Lions and we're winning tonight.
All right. Good morning, everybody. How's it going this morning? Welcome into the Rise and Grind Morning Show. Let's get the right screen up here first, yeah? Man, we are in day 2 of the Detroit Lions training camp. Dan Campbell is going to be on the mic here, reportedly here, just a few moments. Could be happening right now. Let me refresh my screen here. Oh, looks like he's not there yet. But anyway, man, yesterday got off to a wild start. For the first day, the first real day of the Detroit Lions training camp. Of course, the vets came in on the 28th. They got off and running on the 29th. And we had a few major storylines hit the airwaves kind of right away with Jahmyr Gibbs. And we're going to find out if Dan Campbell says anything about it today in this morning's press conference. So we'll be bringing it right in as soon as he's ready to roll. We'll have him brought in. Let's check that screen, make sure we're good to go. So let me just kick it off with a question while we're kind of in limbo here waiting. What'd you guys think of yesterday? Kind of a wild day, right? I mean, having all these things just kind of pop up. Giovanni Manu. The way I understood it, they were doing a lot of conditioning tests. I may have had conditioning and physical confused last night when I was talking about Giovanni Manu. So he might have not done well on the conditioning test and then was resorted back to NFI. He may have passed his physical, but failed the conditioning test is my understanding. Doesn't mean that he won't have another opportunity to do it, of course. And we'll see what he says. We'll see if Dan Campbell speaks to it this morning, or if he says there's anything else going on. Maybe he got sick. Maybe he got sick yesterday during practice. We don't know. We have no idea. It hasn't been reported that I saw anywhere. And I'm wondering if Jahmyr Gibbs is going to show up. Is he going to show up? I mean, he's there, but is he going to practice? Right? Is he going to practice today? And have they moved the needle any further on getting that deal done? Or are they going to get the deal done? Good morning, Sunburst. What's happening, Edge? Good morning, Gino, John Desage. Of course, Trace is in the house early and often. Lady Lion. Probably have a very, 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 very light crew this morning, but that's all right. We'll be kicking it up here soon. We got 31 people and only 6 likes, man. We got lots of time while we're waiting right now. Let's get those likes up. Here we go. Here's Dan Campbell.
How's it going? All right. Day 2. Nothing has changed. Really, I think Peyton Turner's probably going to sit out today. He's got a little bit of a stiff back, so just got that, but we don't think that'll be anything serious. Other than that, it's day 2. Can't wait to get going. Questions?
Dave, can you just, I think some of us were maybe caught a little bit off guard that Jameer wasn't on the practice field yesterday.
Who's that?
That Jameer was not on the practice field yesterday. Can you just explain what he's doing, I guess, behind closed doors, right, going to meetings or whatever still, and at what point does it become a distraction or a detriment to the team that he's...
No, listen, I'll just leave it at this. You guys know how I feel, how we feel about Gibbs, and what the team feels about him, and I'll leave it at that. Listen, all the other stuff, my job is to coach who's out there right now, and I love the kid, but I got a team to coach right now, and listen, whatever all this at some point here, it'll get done. It's gonna get done. I'm not even sweating it. So,
is it your understanding that he won't be out there until he gets a new deal?
I don't know. Look, I know this thing. Before yesterday, he did a conditioning test. He had a little bit of a back, and we'll see. But look, I'm not sweating it.
Hold on. The proverbial hamstring. You remember that, right? From last year with Alex Anzalone, the hamstring that always holds up players when they hold out or hold in. He had a little bit of a back. I don't know. We'll see. Come on, guys.
What sort of opportunity is it for, like, a Vaki? We saw him getting a lot of reps yesterday, and obviously he's a guy who needs it. So,
Where is this on you? That's crazy. Do you have one on you? Is it coming from there?
amplified.
Or is it this? It's a great opportunity. And look, it's one of the reasons we got Pacheco, man. This is extra reps.
Why is Dan not talking into the mic? Why does he have the mic on the over the side of the? What's going on there?
With us, just in our system, man. So that's awesome. Baki gets these reps. Sailors, small, Robichai. But yes, to answer your question, it's great. It's a great opportunity for him. It gives him more reps. So, yeah, it's good. There's always a silver lining.
You brought him up yesterday. Nick Whiteside kind of popped in here last year and just immediately started breaking up passes. He had 3, I think, yesterday on the first day of camp. Where is he at compared to when he kind of arrived midstream last year?
He's improved. And what you like about Ironsides is that when we brought him in, gave him an opportunity, he fought, made some plays, man, earned the right to stay, pulled him up, right? We needed him, did some good things for us. We get him back with us here, and look, he's all about business. That's what you love. It's not too big for him. He's all about business, and he's going to maximize everything he's got. And he looks like he wants a spot and he wants a job. That's what he looks like. I know it's day 1, but he made more plays than anybody out there, and so that's encouraging. It's good to see.
So, man,
you guys can't hear me?
well, I mean, you can move the camera when we record it.
The camera can't hear you. How about that?
Okay.
Saw Manu pop up on non-football injury yesterday after practice. Just curious for an update there.
We obviously put him on NFI. Can you guys hear me? All right. And he had a previous injury over the summer that was not disclosed, and so came off the practice field, didn't feel good, got it checked. Sure enough, that's what it was. So he will be out. for a period of time. I don't know how long that's going to be. Call it 12 weeks. 14 weeks. I don't know. We'll figure it out all down the road. But he is NFI.
Tyleek put something out on social media that he'd lost a bunch of weight. I'm just curious, like, how much of that was player initiative, intrinsic motivation, or something you kind of asked him to do in terms of taking the next step, just being better about his conditioning during the off season?
No, really proud of him. Really proud of him. He's a man of his word. Before we drafted him, we set up there, Brad and I did, say, is there going to be an issue with your weight ever? No. He came in, he noticed that he was a little bit heavy in the spring, came in 2 weeks before our program even started, and was pretty heavy, and said, hey, man, I want to get this right. And he put in the work. Scott did a hell of a job with him, nutritionist, all that, got him right. And then he's just put the work in. He's put the work in. And I'll tell you what, man, he's a man of his word. Came in 325, made his weight, crushed the conditioning test, and like I told the team. And so now he's put some money in the bank of trust. It's awesome, and respect. So really fired up, man. That's a credit to him.
Want him at is right around that 325 range.
Yeah.
Dan, do those physical changes hint at any kind of different role for him this year? Like,
our eyes are open. Yeah, to answer your question, our eyes are open, and we're willing to give him an opportunity. If there's a little bit more that shows, maybe he's out there a little bit more on third down. But certainly we're open to that. We like Tyleek. We absolutely know there's a role for him, and there's something that he can do for us that we feel like really helps us. But can it be even more than that? Yeah, our eyes are open.
Sticking with that room, you guys lost a lot of mass with Reeder and Lopez leaving. Like, does that change how you guys can play up front, how you want to play up front? Like, what do you have to be mindful of when you just lose that much size?
Yeah, I mean, look, it does. It's not. We're not the same as we were with those two guys, and I got a ton of respect for both of those players. You talk about doing some dirty work for us. I mean, they did the dirty work, and they're good players, both of them. So, certainly we're going to miss those guys, but you guys know what we got, on this roster, getting Mac back, and we just talked about Tyleek and some of these other young guys, D tackles, Levi's back. So we're going to play it as it comes, and if that means we move a little bit more, maybe we move a little bit more. But we're going to give our guys the best opportunity to make plays up front, but also just defensively. What's going to help us? What's going to help the back end? Look, our backers will play off of it. Jack is crafty, nifty, smart enough to make it right if that's where we go. But we'll see. We'll see.
Coach, what has to
You'll both get one.
What has to happen over the next few weeks for you to be comfortable going into week one?
What has to be comfortable going into week one? Yeah, well, I think everything. I think you want to feel like, it's a good question. All right, probably the most, I want to know that we can run the football. I want to know we can stop the run. And I want to know that we're ready for situational football. Probably those three things. If you want me to feel comfortable, the other stuff will come. Man, we're a little off on red zone, third down. Those are always a work in progress, game plan specific. But, man, you better be able to run the football, stop the run, in situational football, end of half, end of game, that you feel comfortable and that you can function at a high level. So those, which is why we'll do a bunch of that, especially when we get in pads.
Going back to Gibbs, I mean, how much were you prepared for the possibility, given that you guys moved on from David and then, basically assigned him, the bell cow back role? I mean, this was probably something that was going to factor into, the potential with the contract extension also, coming up,
Are you saying that as it relates to the contract per se or his use?
Just yeah, I mean, the negotiations potentially.
Right.
I mean,
I shouldn't have said bell cow, I guess, right? That's what. Hey, well, Coach said bell cow. Honestly, I didn't think twice about it. I didn't think it would be I really didn't. I didn't. I thought we'd have been done by now, but I'm also, I know how this goes, man. I've been in this league a long time, player and a coach, so I know how it goes. So I'm not even sweating it. I'm not sweating it.
Yesterday, Sam Laporta laid out the steps and the kind of scare of getting muscle feel back and the strength of it all back. And there's no given and guarantee that he was going to be back healthy this early. How closely were you monitoring, and was your staff monitoring each step, as he said, kind of things were firing up and coming back throughout the last few months?
Oh yeah, I mean we kept close tabs on him. I mean, look, we do that with every player, but I'm with you. You come off a back, and you want to make sure that you're doing everything right by him, and he's doing everything right. Sometimes you got to protect the player from himself. He'd be one of those guys too, but yeah, we have. And so even yesterday, man, just watching him finally really go full. I know we're not in pads, but this is full speed compared to what we were doing in the spring. And so now he's ready to go. And, we gave him a few reps. He'll get a couple more today, a little bit more. We'll back him back down tomorrow. But yeah, it's pretty exciting. He feels pretty good. And so, man, it'll be great to get him back. He's a big piece. He's a big piece for our offense. He's a weapon.
Thanks, guys.
Okay.
Learned something yesterday. So this song that pops up at the end now, this is the thing that will get you on YouTube. So that never used to be the case before, but now someone is claiming copyright to that. So learned that yesterday. Of course, you got a bunch of haters. Well, 2 haters in the Lions chat. Just wholly unprofessional people, right? Still asking me questions about like my cancer and saying like I stole money. I mean, would I be here doing this right now if I did any of that? I mean, wouldn't that be the most brazen act of all? That, I just want to stop for just 1 second. We'll get into football in like 3 seconds. If anything that anyone said about me if it was true, wouldn't the state have come for me? Wouldn't the feds have come for me? Wouldn't I be locked up right now? Like the Tate brothers? You know what I'm saying? Like, these people are so stupid. They don't have an education at all, period. They don't understand how charities work. They don't understand how nonprofits work. They don't understand how personal charitable causes work. They don't understand how business works. They probably don't even have a freaking job and live in their mom's basement and run their keyboards. It's just hilarious to me. It's absolutely hilarious. But at the same time, what I will always have to go back to is where it started. And see, and I'm coming for all those motherfuckers, all of them, legally. They just don't know it yet. Well, some of them know it because they've been served. That's why they shut the hell up, because they were served with paperwork. They were served with legal paperwork. And maybe I just need to start sharing some of that, because it's a 26-page document indicting them of everything that they did. And they just walked away with their Pampers on. So you want to fuck with me? Fuck with me. You want to talk shit about me? Talk shit about me. But I'm done putting up with it. I'm done. I'm going to take you to the woodshed, flat out. I'm the nicest guy in the world, but if you cross me, bad idea. Bad idea. So I'm coming for him, and it's all good. It's all good. Now let's get into Dan Campbell. Look, Giovanni Manu having an injury that wasn't reported? How was that? How was it not reported? Manu just came into camp and decided he was injured, and then he was just going to tell him later? Is that my understanding? I'd fire the dude right now. As much as I like Manu, and I wish him nothing but the best, you can't come in and hide things from the trainers. You can't come in and hide things from the team, because they're expecting that you're coming in and you're being honest about everything, right? So now he's putting this team in jeopardy. Had you just come to the team 12 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, whenever the injury happened, and say, hey, I did something. I don't know what's going on. You should have went in and see the trainers and made sure you're good. Why am I pissed about it? Because now you put the team in jeopardy that we may not have another backup. They could have gone out and got somebody, right? They could have gone out and got someone. So just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. The team's not stupid. So either, I mean, I can't imagine that, Dan or the team would make something up like this to save like an IR spot, right? I doubt that would happen. I don't think Manu's going to make the roster at all, period. I don't think he's going to make the practice squad. I think he's going to get cut. He may get waived with an injury settlement. We'll find out. I'm sure that's all coming next. They're probably figuring out what they're going to do. But we've never seen that kind of stuff in the last 5-6 years in Detroit, where guys are just going into practice and not bringing the full story up, right? It doesn't happen. I mean, Frank Ragnow tried to make it back, right? He was banged up, still tried to push through it, went through his thing, and obviously, they found that the injury was worse than what they expected. So, I'm a little disappointed here. Like, I'm really disappointed. One, you hear that there was potential for failed physical, and then it's the on-field work during the conditioning test that wasn't going well. I had those two transposed or whatever. But now we're finding out that there may have been an injury from a while ago. Like, they have cameras everywhere on the field. If you go and report to someone that you're injured, I'm not saying that this happened, but if you go and report to someone that you're injured and something's wrong, they can look at all the cameras to see if it happened on the field. They can definitely see, right, if something happened, depending on what the severity of the injury is. It kind of sucks, man, because I've been holding out hope for Manu to actually do something. As much as I've been realizing that his days have been numbered because he just hasn't made it. I think it's coming down to mental toughness for Manu. That's my direct take. I think it's mental toughness. He's a strong kid. He's gotten this far in life, and it's incredible, right? Coming from British Columbia, UBC down to the Detroit Lions is an insane move, and he has the body type, the size, the gifts that you want in an offensive lineman. It's the mental toughness and the mental fortitude that I think is holding him back, because why else has he not been able to get to the other side? If this is 2 injuries in a row, I mean, okay, I can't blame him for an injury. I've always said that. I will always say that. You can't blame the guy for an injury, only if you don't report it. But in this case, I'm just wondering if he's going to be able to recover yet again. And if the Lions are going to continue on with him, I don't think so. I think that Manu's days are definitely numbered here. I was going back and forth a lot with people in this stupid chat. So, what else is it that you heard from Dan that really you want to talk about? Because there wasn't a whole lot in there. At the very beginning, as far as Gibbs, he said that it's definitely going to get taken care of. He's not really expecting him to be out there, but he can't answer that because that's really up to Gibbs, right? It's up to Gibbs if he wants to be out there. And I'm glad that Dan made the comment that he did. He wasn't going to, softball it, right? He wasn't going to pussyfoot around it, whatever, adage you want to use. He's just said, look, I got other guys I got to coach. The guys that are out there, I got to coach, right? Those are the guys that are going to get our attention. Look, Gibbs doesn't need a whole lot of coaching. He has all the gifts in the world. But he's missing a big opportunity right now. And that is the initial part of the install. In getting through all the walkthroughs and just getting through the very basics. Doesn't mean that he didn't put all the work in OTAs. Doesn't mean he didn't put all the work in minicamp, because he did, and they learned a lot there too. I think that Gibbs did that because he knew he wasn't going to be in pads and just running around doing walkthroughs and that, no contact. You can learn a lot, right? So he's functionally ready, right? He's functionally ready. A lot of the things for a running back aren't going to change a whole lot. The protections are going to change. The calls are going to change. But outside of that, and the pass plays are going to change. The motions are going to change. Those are some keys that he's going to miss, early, is a lot of the motions. But Gibbs is a pretty smart player. So I'm expecting that he'll be okay when he's back to the field. Could be today, could be tomorrow, could be next week. It could be in the preseason. We don't know. We have no idea. I guess we'll find out later on today if he actually, showed up to practice and did practice, but not expecting it. And so here we are, man. Day 2. We're already in the thick of it. A lot of this stuff is normal. And so for a lot of fans that are in the chat saying that the Lions suck, the Lions aren't going to be good, and blah, 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 blah. Look, this is happening everywhere around the league right now. Everywhere around the league. And so if you think that it's not, it is. Every team is going through something. Let me just look something up here. John Desai says, what do you mean he didn't know he was going to hold out? Are you asking that to me or someone in the chat? I don't know if I said that, John. Yeah, there you go, Robbie. Manu's a Canadian. He needs to find his mean streak. There you go. There you go. I think so too, man. I think so too. Ross says, Rag was also the best center in the league. Manu is trying to develop. Big difference. 100%. 100%. They gave him a little latitude. I mean, of course you're going to give Rag now a little bit of latitude, right? They were trying to work with him and trying to get him back in. You know what I mean? Aaron Green checked in, out, then in. What's happening, man? Gaviscon says 3.7 GPA to get into UBC. Not for football players. Not for football players, though. Those guys get their work done for them. I know the college route all too well for athletes, man. I never did any homework in my first year playing baseball. Not one shred. I ain't gonna lie, not one shred. Traveled all over the place, played a lot of ball, worked out a lot, never did one thing of homework my entire freshman year. And that was not a good school either, so played at a podunk school. Anyway, John, someone in the chat said Gibbs didn't know if he was going to hold out. I don't know about that. I think it was planned. Well, I do know about that. I will say it was planned. And the reason why I say that is because Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs both held in, on the same day. And I just have this sneaking suspicion that two agents talked, like I said yesterday, and Gibbs and Bijan talked, and they said, look, we're going to make a stand. We're putting a stake in the ground. We're the best two running backs in the league. We want to get paid now. I think the NFL has a problem. I think they need to change that rule. And they need to change the rule that first round players selected in the first round could be eligible for a new deal after 3 years. Now, I think that they put that in place about a decade ago when they started to make all these new changes with the CBA and the rookie tiered pay list, if you will, or pay table. First round, 16th pick, second round, 64th pick. You get paid X amount of dollars guaranteed. That's when they installed this rule that they could then be eligible for a new deal in 3 years. Now, what that changed is, y'all remember, Matthew Stafford's first deal, to keep it into Lions terms, Stafford's first contract was $72 million. And it was also 6 years. Like, back then, you didn't have any limits on what you could do. 6 years, $72 million was $78 million max value, $41.7 million guaranteed. And in today's world, a first round, like Fernando Mendoza, in 2026, he has a 4-year, $57.27 million contract. That is one of the highest contracts that I have seen for rookie quarterbacks in a long time. Now, it goes up every year. Let's go back to 2020. We're going to be off on a lot of different NFL news and random crap today. So we get some more info later on what's happening tonight in our post-training camp announcements. Last night I went through 30 points. I'll run through some of those again this morning since maybe some of you were not in last night's show. I'll go through it because I went through a ton of stuff. and I'll do Cliff Notes version. I'll be quick with it. Last night it took forever. But Fernando Mendoza, 4 years, $57.27 million. In 2025, Cam Ward was 4 years, $55 million. So you got that, 10% or 5% bump, whatever it is. But just go back to 24, Caleb Williams only got 39.48. 39. So that's a huge difference. In 1 year, it went up, or in 2 years, it went up $17 million in 2 seasons. Bryce Young signed for $37 million. Trevor Lawrence signed for $36 million. Joe Burrow signed for $36 million. So over the previous years, it's been pretty consistent. This huge jump in how much the NFL has raised the cap has increased the rookie pay, and at least for the last 2 quarterbacks. Mendoza he just nailed, a deal value-wise that is, I think, larger than Matthew Stafford's. When you look at the value, we'll just go $58 million. That's 14.5. What was Stafford's again? His was 6 at 72. Yeah, and his max value was 78. That's $13 million. So now rookies are getting paid a little bit more than what Matthew Stafford was getting paid over a decade ago. They're just now getting back to those numbers. So the NFL was very smart in how they structured these deals for the rookies, and that's why they installed that third-year option for first-round players. And I think that it's that third-year option to be eligible for a new deal that is causing some problems. And it's causing problems for teams that draft well. It's not causing problems for teams that spend a lot of their time, energy, and money and resources in free agency, right? And there's another good point. Trey says NIL is also affecting how the rookies come in. They're demanding more than the NIL they were getting in college. NIL needs to go away. I think NIL needs to roll it back a little bit and maybe put some caps on some things. I think the NIL is good, and I also think it's bad. I think it's good because now you know what players who they are, right? Because for many years in the NFL, we had problems with rookies. They get these big checks, and then they just go wild, right? They go out and buy all these cars, all this jewelry, and these houses, and planes, and they're buying all sorts of crap. And then they end up broke, or a lot of them end up in trouble. And so now I think the NIL has helped reshape what a NFL rookie is because they're managing money already. They've already had some big dollars, maybe for a few years, at least the ones that, are typically in the first few rounds of the NFL draft. And I think that is an improvement that is helping these younger players manage money before they enter the draft. But to your point, yeah, I think it's a loose system. And I think it's kind of killing what used to be natural about college football. College football used to just be a break from the NFL when you're sick and tired of the narratives in the NFL and the refs, doing things that they do. Roger Goodell doing the things that he does that seem to steer things. You could go watch college football and you could feel great about it because those guys are out there hustling, man. They're not getting paid. They're working their ass off. But at the same time, the NCAA and all the schools were making all of that money off of their backs. And they weren't getting anything but a free ride to college. Now, some will say that a college education is priceless. You're not going to like I say this, but I think a college education is worthless unless you're going to be a doctor or a lawyer, a surgeon. College education today is just worthless. You can make more money without a college education than going to college for 4 years and then in most cases having to get a master's degree, leaving college $200,000 in debt if you're going to a good college, and that's the minimum to go 6 years. Right? To go 4 years, you're looking at about $130, $150, depending on what school you're going to. I know Michigan State is about $45,000 a year. And so what is that? $180 million after 4 years? Now you can remove a little bit of that with some of the grants and other things that you get. But you come out of school $180 grand in debt. Wouldn't you rather be able to buy a house, Kids that are going to college today, they get out of college, they can't even buy a house because their student loan payment's $1,000 a month, and you're barely making $50,000 a year. It's crazy. I know it's non-football, but I guess it's kind of related, Look, college education is great if you like to be educated, but there are so many places to get an education today. I mean, I have learned more by doing my own research than I ever did in any school. I've learned more about finances and things like that on my own than they ever taught me in school. And those are the things that I think that they need to focus on. They need to make our younger the youth smarter, right? With the things that matter, real estate, finances, and all the other things like you just don't use anymore. It just, you should be able to pick the things that you want to pick. I think going to school for to you're 18 years old, I think it's just too long. I think it's just way too long. And a lot of families can't even afford to pay for daycare, man. It's crazy. Daycare is like a full-time job to pay for it. I know because I had 2 kids in daycare, and it cost more per week than what she was bringing in at work. And that's why I just wanted her to stay home, take care of the kids, because what's the point? But she wanted to go to work to socialize, not work. What was the point, right? Anyway, let's get back into football. So we were talking about Gibbs there for a moment. Did he plan to hold in? Obviously, I think he did. Like Woodward Sports right here. Jahmyr Gibbs holding out for Detroit Lions. Dan Campbell reacts. You guys are idiots. He's holding in. He's not holding out. If he was holding out, he wouldn't have reported. Unbelievable. Like they just can't even get the most basic things correct over there. But yet they'll spew all their garbage to the fans and make them even less intelligent because that's what they do. I think rookies need to prove themselves before getting a big paycheck in the NFL. I don't know. I mean, Trace, I like that comment, but I would agree to disagree on that one. I think that they should get paid. I think they absolutely should get paid. And I think that the NFL makes so much damn money, they got to spend the money somehow. Right? And not every rookie is going to work out. Not every employee that I've ever hired in my life worked out, but I still paid him every week. Right? Or the company that I was working for at the time, they would pay him every week. And even though they didn't work out, you still have to train them, and I'll just take only one other thing that I know about like training and getting paid as a nurse. Like in the nursing industry, there's a number out there that they say that most nurses make cost $60,000 their first year of nursing to learn, and that's your investment into that nurse that you hope is going to stick around for the next 3, 4, 5, 6 years or whatever it is. Same thing for a player. You're investing in that player. And so I think that they should get paid. But the third year for me, I think it's too soon. Because one thing we know about a lot of players, especially a lot that we've seen through Detroit, it's that third year that they usually have that big bump, right? That they jump up quite a bit in their production and become the player that you drafted them to be. But why is it that it took them till that point? To your point, Trace, they have to prove themselves. They have to go through the gauntlet of fire to come out on the other side. And that's exactly what these players are doing. Like Kirby Joseph, it took him to his third year to really fly. And then he gets injured. Right? But it was that third year. And it was so funny because that year that he had such an amazing year, and then Brad Holmes comes to the mic and he pointed somebody out. I think it was Dave Burkett. And he said, I remember when you said that it was a wasted pick. And Kirby just set the interception record for the league that year, tied, right? And he said, never judge my players, don't evaluate my players until the third year. And that's pretty much true for everybody in the league. You're going to have a small percentage of players that are going to, jump out the box early and really, run away with it and become really good football players. And that's in any round. You're going to have a few in the later rounds. You're going to have even more in the first 3 rounds. And you should have the most in the first round. But I think it's the investment overall that, they're expecting that these players are going to learn, right? And it's learning. It's the coaching that got them there. Obviously, their hard work got them there, but it's the coaching in the NFL that's making them the player that they are today. Yeah, all good stuff. All good stuff. Yeah, Joe Schmo talking about having leverage. That was one of our points yesterday. Here, let me grab our points from yesterday. Let's run through yesterday a little bit. I'll skip all the morning stuff because we obviously all understand that. All right, so Brian Branch, his rehab is still on schedule, no setbacks. We know that. Campbell, reported that there was no setbacks yesterday, so that's good. Expected him to be back sometime in camp or as early as the first week of September. Kirby Joseph, obviously not expected right now. Obviously, we had a lot of fallout yesterday with Kirby Joseph. Took to Twitter and whatever social medias he was on and really kicked back at the people that are all up in his business. And that's fans, that's media, that's non-fans, it's just regular people all up in his business saying a whole bunch of shit to him, and he just had enough. Kind of like me. I just had enough this morning. I had my Kirby moment. We'll just call that. We'll call it a Kirby moment now. But anyway, Kirby Joseph's outlook was really concerning going into the season. And now after watching the video yesterday of him running around, let's see if it's still up. Of him running around, there we go. He was looking good. But the one thing I noticed in his front left foot, and you really have to hone in on that if you watch it on Twitter. If you go to his Twitter page and you watch it and then you zoom in on his front left foot, he has some instability in that left foot. It's kind of going like this. And that tells me that knee is still a little bit unstable. Now, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a physical therapist. I'm not a physical trainer. But just things that I've learned and researched, that tells me he's probably having a little bit of an issue. There's one other side to that story. It could just be unlevel ground underneath his foot. Now, something tells me that the Lions field is in pretty damn good shape, and that's probably not the case, but divots do happen, even in a perfect lawn, so there could be that, but I doubt it because I think he would have moved. Either way, his running looks natural, it looks clean, and he also has the that belt on him that is giving him, giving him some tension to run against. So I thought he looked good. Now, of course, he came out later on in the afternoon, called everybody out. Here, let's go back to that. If you guys are around kids, if you're at work and you have this on, please put it on your headphones or turn it down. Let's see if this is still up. Probably not. No. Hold on. Oh man, I forgot yesterday. We couldn't find the stop, start, and pause button with this new layout. And I still can't hear him. You can see him chirping at everybody, but I can't hear him. I don't understand what's going on with that. It's just weird. Anyway, let me go find his Twitter real quick.
I don't give a fuck nobody else say. All I do is grind, baby. That's all I motherfucking know. That's how I got to this motherfucker right here. Y'all ass all in my motherfucking business. Y'all ass don't know shit.
Yeah, once is enough for me. Kirby's pissed, man. He's absolutely pissed. He thinks that everyone's all up in his business, and they are. I mean, it's the beginning of the year. We want him on the field. But there's a lot of disrespect. There's a lot of hate going around. I feel the same way, Kirb. I got a lot of hate too, brother. And, it's lonely at the top, man. People always like to chop at your heels. All right, let's get into the rest of the points. Let's get into the rest of the points here. Number 6 from yesterday was more about Joseph. His workout was encouraging. Number 7, Tyler Conklin, the Lions tight end, free agent tight end they brought in this year. He's expected to miss a couple more weeks. Christian Mahogany should return within days. Haven't heard anything about today. I didn't hear if they asked that question this morning. Could be back towards the end of the week, so it could be Friday, could be Thursday. We'll see as we get closer. But that's good news, right? Same thing for Christian Izien, dealing with a little bit of the flu bug. He should be back within days as well. Hopefully, again, end of the week, he should be back and running with the team. Dan Campbell does remain open about playing the starters. We learned that yesterday as well, that he's thinking about playing the starters if and only the starters. Well, he's thinking about playing the starters only if he feels like the starters are not getting enough work in, enough repetitions during training camp that are valuable to their development this year. I can't imagine that that's going to happen, but we'll see. Yesterday was a very clean 90-minute practice. All right, very clean 90-minute practice. Reports that were coming out of Allen Park described the practice as very crisp, free of fights, significant mistakes, or any new injuries. Now, Manu obviously ended up with an injury, but apparently it wasn't new. Sam Laporta practiced without any restrictions. Since his November back surgery, he has been a full participant. He spoke with the media yesterday. He was all good. He was in great spirits. He's feeling great. He's, the nerves are firing again. And we'll go to media this morning and browse a couple of more videos that popped up yesterday. We didn't finish all of them. Laporta did handle about 90% of the first team reps yesterday, so that was good. Good to hear that he was getting a lot of work. Jared Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown, man, they hit the ground running last night's practice or yesterday morning's practice. Their connection is restored for 2026. It's going to be another fun year for those guys. Jameson Williams produced the play of the day. Rob B was not in last night, and I was talking all sorts of cool stuff about J-Mo. Williams delivered the most discussed moment of practice yesterday when Goff launched a deep pass down the middle with Williams bracketed by Rakestraw and Chuck Clark. Williams adjusted, elevated between both defenders, and completed the contested catch for approximately 40 yards. He also made a sideline reception against Reed and secured multiple deep comeback and corner routes in tight coverage. Now, the significance really extends beyond another explosive reception for Jameson Williams, right? He's traditionally won through separation. Last year, as I mentioned yesterday, and throughout the offseason, the biggest improvement I wanted to see for him was getting stronger, right? Stronger at the point of attack, stronger when he's breaking off routes, stronger in the first, yard 2 or 3 off the line of scrimmage where he's not getting bumped off his route. He had trouble with all of that last year. Yesterday shows improvement, but there was no pads. So we'll wait here for a few days, and we'll see how that changes because right now they're just out there practicing in spiders. Sione Vaki and Isaiah Pacheco divided Gibbs' workload with Gibbs holding in. Pacheco handled the initial starting work during walkthroughs, and when they transitioned to 11-on-11 work, that is where Vaki hit the field as the first running back in, and Pacheco rotated behind him. That rotation showed that Pacheco will not automatically receive every lead back rep, but I think it's still early too. We'll let this play out. Jackson Meeks officially moved to tight end yesterday. He's been kind of gradually introduced to the position. Campbell views him as a possible hybrid in an H-back, a move tight end, and just an oversized slot receiver that's going to get a ton of work. Again, shout out to Jackson Meeks for reposting my post yesterday where I was explaining that he's going to have to do the dirty work and that Dan Campbell's excited about it. Meeks worked behind Laporta and Brock Wright in the tight end 3 position, so early opportunity for him while Conklin is out. We'll see how that progresses. I expect Conklin to come right back into the fold, obviously with his experience. Shouldn't be an issue, but maybe Meeks makes that 4th spot. He's going to have a rough competition between him and Miles Kitselman, excuse me. He did receive some meaningful tight end opportunities yesterday. Kitselman worked ahead of several developmental tight ends and appeared as Detroit's lone tight end during at least one 11 personnel snap. So he did get a few extra looks. Offensive line developments were looking good yesterday. Juice Scruggs received the most left guard snaps out of any of the backups, While Mahogany is unavailable, Ben Barch is still being managed physically coming off of his injury. Scruggs handled most of the first-team reps. Frazier also received a little bit of work, while Barch participated more during the walkthroughs and the selected early periods of practice. Scruggs had previously been viewed as a possible center, making his extensive guard usage very flexible for the Lions going into 26. Blake Miller, he opened as the primary right tackle. First-round rookie Blake Miller getting the bulk of the load yesterday. Larry Borum worked at both tackle positions while with the second unit and also joined the starters as an additional lineman, probably in heavier packages, is my guess. That does not end the competition. It's just day one. There's no pads. So that's going to be an open competition for the next couple of weeks. Defensive back developments, Avonte Maddox, Chuck Clark open as the starting safeties. Obviously, with Joseph and Branch still down and Izzy unavailable, Maddox and Clark handled the majority of the reps. Thomas Harper entered next, followed by Lauren Strickland and then Dan Jackson. Maddox's role was significant because Izzy received many of the free safety reps during OTAs and minicamp, and now it appears that Maddox is being elevated as a deep post option, which, by the way, I don't know if I mentioned this last night, Maddox ran a lot of deep post coverage last year for the Lions while he was in. So it's nothing new for him. He's just getting more work early this season. Obviously, with the defensive shift and the new scheme, he's going to have a lot to learn. Ennis Rakestraw, Rock Ya-Sin, they began as 1 and 2. They began as both 1 and 2 for cornerback 2. And this competition is heated right away. Rakestraw and Ya-Sin rotated opposite of Reed. Rakestraw opened with the first team during positions of 7-on-7, but when it went to 11-on-11, that is where Ya-Sin was on the field first. Rakestraw did surrender difficult catches. And I do want to highlight, bolden, and emphasize that. Rakestraw surrendered difficult catches against St. Brown, Williams, but he was in tight coverage, consistently staying in phase, which is exactly what we need to see out of Rakestraw early in camp. McCreary opened as Detroit's first-team nickelback during the nickel work part of the defense install yesterday. DJ Reed, he looked healthy. He looked explosive. Reed entered camp after spending part of the offseason rebuilding his hamstring. He said his offseason testing showed improvements in speed, strength, and body comp, but Goff generally avoided targeting him yesterday, and Reed broke up a pass that was intended for Sam Laporta. Williams did complete a very difficult sideline catch against Reed, but Reed's movement and ability to remain connected in coverage supporting his claims that he's healthy, entering camp physically ready to go. Nick Whiteside, he was the defensive surprise out of yesterday's practice. Whiteside began with the third-team defense and recorded 3 pass breakups. Now, I am going to emphasize 7-on-7, no pads, third team. But keep your eyes on Whiteside throughout this camp. He did deny passes to Meeks, Kitzelman, and Tariq Black. So you also have to look at who he's going up against. Meeks is probably the most polished out of all of them. But his performance did earn several late second-team opportunities. So he was already making an advancement in day one. The Lions, as you know, they didn't sign any other corners after releasing Arnold, and they entered camp with only 8. We usually enter camp with 10 to 12. A little bit light. Linebacker defensive developments yesterday were good. Campbell, Barnes, Rodriguez formed the first team linebacker group in the base defense. Jack Campbell, Derek Barnes. Excuse me, hold on. Rodrigo played in the 3 linebacker packages and holds the early advantage at the weak side linebacker position. Barnes aligned at the Sam in base personnel, then moved off ball to the will position when we entered the nickel. Now, last night, there was a conversation in the chat, and this is just for conversation purposes only, that wondering that is Barnes going to make the switch to the will role? And I clarified that last night. When the Lions are in nickel, yes, he will remain on the field, at least for now. When the Lions are in base, expect him to be over at the Sam. Unless, and if, they're expecting to do something different with the alignments this year. I was thinking about this after we got off last night. What if they're training Jimmy Rolder at the Mike linebacker right now? What if Rolder picks it up? Well, Malcolm's the natural middle, right? So God willing, something happened to Jack. I think Malcolm slides in because of his experience and his trust with the team. I think he slides into that Mike linebacker role right away. But what if they do something very similar that they did with Alex Anzalone? Maybe you put Rolder in at Mike linebacker, again, if something happened. And then you have Rodrigo calling the plays from the will. That has happened. It's exactly what Alex Anzalone did in the first year and even into the second year with Jack Campbell on the team. So where that's developing for me is I'm thinking the three linebackers that could be on the field, what if Jack ends up pushing outside a little bit? His coverage is great. And obviously we know how he is as a forward linebacker and thumping downhill. I mean, he's one of the best, right? I think he's the second, if not the first best linebacker in the league right now. I could see the Lions mixing it up here. They could put different guys in the middle. They could push Jack outside. They could push in Derek Barnes over to the will. They could do a lot. Why would they do that? Because you want to screw up the offense, right? You want to make it chaotic for them. You want them to not know what the hell it is you're doing. And I think that's going to be something for us to watch. I've also heard a rumor this morning. I got a text at 6 a.m. that said, watch out for 4 linebacker sets this year. Watch out for the 4 linebacker sets this year. And if you remember, during the offseason portion, before OTAs, I had mentioned that I heard the rumor that the Lions were going to go 4 defensive ends. And everyone thought I was nuts for saying that. Well, they ended up doing it during the OTAs and into minicamp. And so that info was solid. And now I'm wondering if this info is going to shake out too. Could you imagine? I mean, think about some of the it's down and goal to go, right? And you've got now usually 5 on the front. You go heavy on the front. And then you put 4 linebackers in. I guess you really have to read what the offense is doing, because if you go that big, that heavy, you can get burned in a pass. But I wouldn't be surprised if they just go 4 and 4. Why? Because then you have more speed. You have more speed with your linebackers. They're typically faster than your big guys. I mean, aside from Skylar Gill-Howard, who runs pretty quick, right? By the way, I didn't have any good news about Skylar Gill-Howard yesterday. Nothing came across the desk. Hoping to hear something today. But I could just see it now that the Lions go 4 down front with 4 defensive ends, 4 linebackers, and 3 corner safeties, right? Probably 1 post, 2 corners. That could be a very fun defense, a 4-4-3. That could be a very fun defense to watch, especially with the talent that the Lions have. Watch out for that one, but at least watch out for the 4 linebacker sets this year. As I mentioned earlier, Jimmy Rolder, he received second-team Mike reps. And as I explained last night, I think that the reasoning for this is whenever you have a rookie that needs to learn and learn quickly, putting him in the middle and forcing him to key diagnose and make the calls is going to help him develop faster mentally. And so we'll keep watching, for that to develop throughout the season. Damone Clark, he played in the will position. It's exactly where I expected him to be, while Trevor Nowaski also remained at the Sam position in the second-team work. So that was Trevor Nowaski on the left, Rodler in the middle, and Damone Clark on the right on second-team defense. Tyler Lacey, Ahmed Hassanin received an expanded big end work in yesterday's practice. They were the first 2 to start. Detroit used considerable base personnel, creating more work for the heavier defensive end position. Lacey opened up as the starting big end opposite of Aiden Hutchinson. That's a huge development. Hassanin received significant reps after transforming his body during the offseason. Hassanin and Hutchinson connected him with his trainer, David Lawrence, helping him reduce body fat while adding functional muscle in the offseason. And Hassanin feels like this role is going to be better for him. So kind of excited to see where Hassanin grows this year. Second-round rookie Derek Moore rotated through multiple units as Detroit began defining his role. Now, I did hear, what show was that? I'll see if I can find the audio this morning when I take a break. I did hear a breakdown on Derek Moore. And before I find the audio, they were saying that this is a third-team guy. Like, he's third string. And they don't expect much out of him. So I'll find the audio. We'll listen to it. We'll break it down because I don't know if I trust them on this one. Tyleik Williams and Miles Adams. He created early penetration. Meaningful defensive line evaluation requires pads, though. We can't forget that. But Williams and Adams both entered the backfield quickly on plays. Williams is conditioning, his expanded responsibilities. They still remain a major camp storyline with how much he said he's transformed his body. I could see it in the face immediately when we saw the little shorts popping up on DetroitLions.com and on their Twitter pages. I think he looks way better than he did last year. And he's going to get even better as camp is going to knock the weight off. The first practice offered encouraging evidence of his initial quickness. The true evaluation obviously will begin in a couple of days when pads come on. The last few points here, quarterbacks and special teams developments. Number 28 point of the day yesterday was Luke Altmaier. He experienced expected rookie processing issues. He started to hold the ball a little bit too long, and he was absorbing potential sacks on blitzes from linebacker Joe Paci and safety Lauren Strickland. That's not alarming for a rookie, but he's got to figure it out. It identifies his immediate development priority, which is timing, right? Timing, speeding up his internal clock. Number 29 of yesterday, Detroit opened a very wide punt return competition. And the names that I'm about to tell you, one may surprise you. The Lions used. Now, there's one missing from this, by the way. But the Lions used St. Brown, Greg Dortch, Dominic Lovett, Tom Kennedy, Lawrence Keys, and Isaiah Pacheco as punt returners. St. Brown can exit that list. Gibbs was not practicing. Gibbs would have also been in that list, as I understand it. Dortch appeared the most natural and remains the early favorite after Cleef's Raymond departure for Chicago. High punts from Jack Fox and gusting winds complicated the drill. Isaiah Pacheco put a couple of balls in the ground. Not good. Not good. Detroit ranked 23rd in punt return average last year with a paltry 8.3. Look, if they just get that above 10, 11 yards per punt return, that's solid. That'd be solid for me this year. Late afternoon roster developments. We already talked about Giovanni Manu. And there was no obvious injury reported during camp. It was reported this morning that it was prior to camp. Number 20, I'm sorry. That was it. So my bottom line of the day, the 30th point was Manu. The bottom line of the day was this. Detroit's opening day produced 3 dominant headlines. Number 1, Gibbs' apparent contract hold in. 2, Joseph's uncertain regular season timeline. And 3, Jameson Williams. His growth as a contested catch receiver, adding the functional strength this offseason, really showed up in the first practice. And behind all those stories, look, the Lions begin identifying their temporary safety combination, and it gave Miller an early advantage at right tackle, expanded Vaki's role in the offense. They tested Scruggs at left guard. They opened up some meaningful competitions at the cornerback 2 position, punt returner, tight end, and defensive line depth on day 1. Practice was clean. Laporta looked healthy. And Detroit's premier receivers are already producing. The Lions finished day 1 with important questions involving Gibbs and both starting safeties. And now we know about Giovanni Manu. And one last final thing about yesterday. Goff already leads the league in deep passes. How about that? Be right back.
Throwing middle, caught inside the 5. Jahmyr Gibbs to the end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. 14 yards on the strike. Goff to Gibbs. You can't cover that man one-on-one. You just can't do it.
Nice job.
Jared takes the snap, back looking, throwing middle, got Amon-Ra inside the 2, to the 1, to the end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. Amon-Ra St. Brown. Amon-Ra St. Brown.
I see you guys talking about Gibbs in there. I'll break down the video that I did the other day and talk about my projection for Jahmyr Gibbs coming up next.
Mariota's got it back. Pressure comes. He's hit. Slips out of it. Rolling to his right. Now he's going down. Brian Branch got him. Sack for the Lions. Snap taken by Mariota. Wants to throw it. Gonna get hit. Gonna get sacked. Take it down. Brian Branch got him second time today.
Nice job.
Hands it to Gibbs, running right, runs through a tackle, gets down to the 10, Gibbs through the 5, still fighting, down to the 2, down to the 1, to the end zone! Yes. Touchdown, Detroit Lions! He did not quit!
Nice job.
Off to throw again, does, middle, J-Mo angling to the end zone, touchdown Detroit Lions! J-Mo flips into the end zone for 6.
Nice job. You talking about gut punch up the middle, then talking about Hutchinson, he goes down again.
Okay, we're back. Welcome into the Rise and Grind Morning Show, man. It is training camp updates. Officially day 2 for the Detroit Lions training camp. My name is Will Rock. I'm the host of Rise and Grind Morning Show, Rock on Detroit Lions, author of DFJ Sports and the Detroit Football Journal. And if you guys are not subscribed right now to Detroit Football Journal, please do. DetroitFootballJournal.com. Get your free trial. Once you sign up for free, no credit card needed, just an email. I'll go ahead and comp you guys for at least 30 days. I might do some mystery years, and that'll be few and far between, but I will do some. Also, giving away Madden 27 games this year. Each and every week of August, we're doing a Madden 27 giveaway. Obviously, the game doesn't release till about the middle of the month. All the winners will be mailed at the end of the month when I compile all the winners, get all everyone's address and responses. But please visit DFJ Sports on Facebook, DFJ Sports on Twitter. And, of course, right here on YouTube. And then also Will Rock Jr. on Twitter. And what's the other one that we're doing? What's the other one that I'm doing? I can't remember my own giveaway. Hold on. I know I'm doing one more. Or maybe I covered them all. So I'm doing one winner for each Facebook and Twitter. So that's 3 games. And then 2 winners for YouTube. So that's 2 more games. So 5 games I'm giving away in the month of August. The first winner will be announced on August 9th. There's multiple ways that you have to participate to be entered. It's free. You don't have to buy anything. That's what giveaways mean. But if you're already subscribed to the channel, and let's say you're already a member and you would like to participate, simply just comment in your comment in the videos after the live streams, not in the chat, Madden 27. Put that in your comment, whatever it is. You can start with it. You can end with it. You can put it in the middle, whatever you want to do. But make sure you include Madden 27 because my system that I'm using to scrape all this information is going to look for that keyword in comments. It will also track your likes. It'll track your subscriptions. It'll track your follows and your memberships. Now, you don't have to become a member. But one of the other ways you can enter is becoming a member of the channel. So if you are subscribed and then you become a member and then you just comment, in the YouTube videos and live streams, after the live streams, that's your 3. You just got to do 3 things on each social media platform or YouTube to be entered. There are 5 ways to enter on every single platform. And then that improves your odds 3-1. It's very simple math. You got to do 3 things to get 1. You do that 4th thing, you get a 2nd. You do that 5th thing, you get a 3rd opportunity on each channel. So there'll be postings every day or every other day on every social media and in the YouTube posts right here that tell you guys what you need to do if you'd like to participate. 18 and up only, please. And have fun. I know I'm having fun with it. Like I said, I'm going to take one of the games and I'm going to use it as a pooper scooper. I'm straight up going to take that plastic piece, if they still come in plastic, and I'm going to use it as a pooper scooper because that's what I think of Caleb Williams. I think he's absolute dog shit. Matter of fact, that was a little harsh, wasn't it? I think Alex Anzalone said it best.
Everyone wants to be a dog until you got to do some dog shit.
There it is. Thanks, Alex. Miss you, buddy. Jahmyr Gibbs. I see you guys talking about Jahmyr Gibbs. What is he worth? What's the potential of him getting a massive deal? It's going to happen. Is it going to happen in Detroit? That's the other question. Now, it didn't sound like this morning that Dan Campbell was expecting, for Jahmyr Gibbs to hold in. But I don't think that they're going to tell us if there's any sort of a trade happening, right? But let's be real for a moment. I pointed this out in the video that I did the other day. Brad's done this before. He did it with DeAndre Swift. He did it with TJ Hawkinson. When they wanted a big deal and it did not meet what the team's, identity was for the future or affordability for the future, they traded him. Now, nowhere near the production, the player, and the meaning to this team, those two, as Jahmyr Gibbs is. I don't think that they're going to trade him. I think if they had to trade him, that means that the deal that they're looking for is way too rich. There's some numbers that I saw in the chat, like $30 million. There's no way it gets anywhere close to that. No way. I think that the numbers are going to be fairly close to my projection, which my projection, I think, is a little bit more than what the national media might be talking about. And I haven't looked at Spotrac in a long time to see what the projected is there, but we can take a look here in just a moment. So yesterday, here's what I wrote, or the other day. I reported, let's see. Let's start here. So obviously you guys know that Detroit exercised Jahmyr Gibbs' fifth-year option in April. Okay, so that keeps Jahmyr Gibbs under contract through the 2027 season. But you have to remember that $14.3 million, that is payable. It's fully guaranteed. It's payable in 2027, not in 2026. Earlier this week, ESPN's Adam Schefter suggested that the situation between Gibbs and the Lions could move quickly, meaning he was expecting a deal that would get done. I thought maybe there's something else that could be happening there. And then he also mentioned that Detroit could become active in the running back market within the coming week. That made me pause the other day. Could the Lions really be thinking about trading Gibbs? And when you think about who they brought in with Isaiah Pacheco, it's a very, very similar back to Jahmyr Gibbs. The speed, the elusiveness. He's more of a downhill runner, right? He's a little bit harder of a runner. He takes more punishment because that's the style that he is. But he still has fleet of foot. Like he's still a really good running back when he's healthy. He's finally healthy. It's been a couple of seasons. So I'm not going to evaluate or judge him too harshly after an injury. If he's healthy this year and he's in the best shape of his life as reported, look, he could definitely give some running backs a run for their money if we have the offensive line that we're expecting. And you have to think about all the weapons that are on this offense. You can't stop everyone. And that means running backs in our system are going to have a better opportunity to have better games, better output, more stats. Why? Because there's 5 legit weapons on the field at any given time, which is about 3 more than any other team. So for that reason, I think that Pacheco could have a good season. Now, is it Gibbs-type season? Probably not. Not even close. Could it be serviceable? And could it still allow us to win a lot of games? Absolutely. Is Vaki the answer? No, not yet. But what we've seen from Vaki when he stays on the field, he's also a damn good running back. And he averages more than 5 yards a carry. He's a harder runner. He's more that David Montgomery style. He's a little bit thicker in the lower half. And he's definitely a much better blocker than guys give him credit to be. But there's no question, there's another question that really nobody wants to ask, and that question is, are the Lions even going to consider it? Consider trading Jahmyr Gibbs if the contract becomes too rich. Right now, look, there's no credible reporting suggesting this. There's no credible reporting suggesting that they're shopping him or that the Lions are looking at any other direction. I don't think that that's going to happen. But the current reporting does point toward active contract negotiations by Dan Campbell, not trade discussions. And I don't think that they would tell us anyway. So would trading Gibbs be irresponsible under the current circumstances? 100%. I think that it would. I think that it totally changes the dynamic of this offense when you remove one of the legit weapons that we've been looking for. We just traded David Montgomery. If you thought that this was going to be an issue, then why did you trade David Montgomery for the very little bit amount of money that he's getting paid? They traded David Montgomery because they were trying to reduce salary so they could probably pay Gibbs, right? And the other players that they have to pay. At least we know right now that Sam Laporta is not throwing his hat in the ring too. You know, he's not out there pushing the envelope. He's at practice. His deal's not going to be anywhere near, or it shouldn't be anywhere near, Jahmyr Gibbs. But if you look at the most recent contracts, the tight end contracts are getting expensive too. Each one of these guys, Sam Laporta, Brian Branch, and Jahmyr Gibbs, should all hover around $20 million a year. $60 million more per year on average going out, you know, and off the books every year. That's pretty tough to manage. Pretty tough. Now, you could say, well, look at Aiden Hutchinson's deal. That's, you know, and Amon-Ra St. Brown's deal, and Penei Sewell's deal. You're going to pay three guys what it cost you to pay Penei Sewell and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Are they going to have, you know, the output that makes them as good or featurable as those guys? Yes, absolutely. I think that the offense is obviously preparing to have Gibbs as their feature back. That's why they got rid of David Montgomery. So yes, trading him would be irresponsible. Unless, and only if and when, another team decided to give you 2 first-round picks. I don't know if Brad could walk away from that. It would definitely put a dark cloud over this team for this year. A team that is expecting to compete for a Super Bowl. A team that has a 4th-place schedule that's looking to be pretty weak, at least right now, and should be able to run through it and have the best chances possible with Jahmyr Gibbs on the sideline. That also doesn't mean that they could sign him and then trade him next year. I'm just saying all those possibilities are there. I'm not saying it's happening. And I'm not saying I want it to happen. But I will remind you of one thing. When I do hear about trades, from my sources, they happen. I told you about David Montgomery. It happened. Y'all didn't believe me. It happened. That was good sourced information from my guy. The Lions are trying to win a championship. So I don't think anywhere in their plans for 2026 that trading Gibbs would help them. It would remove one of the most explosive, most dynamic players on this offense. But Brad Holmes, like I said, he did something similar in the past. I mentioned TJ Hawkinson, right? I mentioned DeAndre Swift. They also exercised Hawkinson's 5th-year deal. And then they traded him to Minnesota during the 2022 season. They also got a pretty good haul back for TJ Hawkinson, and Hawkinson never really worked out for Minnesota. And Holmes did acknowledge back then that future contract considerations were one factor. Having to pay him potentially north of $15 million was not going to work. He was expecting that the guys that are getting paid, Aiden Hutchinson, Penei Sewell, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs, Kirby Joseph, Brian Branch, Sam Laporta, Jared Goff, he expected all of those contracts to go out. So you couldn't keep a guy that you didn't draft and pay him a boatload of money when he really wasn't performing that well. He didn't really click with Jared Goff. He definitely wasn't the future of the offense. And his attitude from previous reports and information sucked. So for those reasons, you had to get rid of the guy. That's not the case with Gibbs. Not even close. So he decided the long-term investment in the players that he drafted was more important than TJ Hawkinson. Same thing for DeAndre Swift. He traded DeAndre Swift during the draft of 2023, right after he drafted Jahmyr Gibbs. DeAndre Swift, if I remember correctly, when that trade happened, I think he went to social media like he was confused. Like, what's going on here? And it was moments later that he was gone, right? He was traded. I think in the 3rd round or something like that, he was traded. But Swift, he was also entering his final year of his rookie deal. Detroit just drafted Gibbs, like I said. And so the expectation was that the Lions were going to do something. And so Holmes moved Swift rather than forcing a role or a contract that no longer fit the roster plan. That's not the same for Gibbs, right? Neither of these comparisons fit perfectly. The circumstances really don't match that well, but I do want to reiterate the fact that Holmes has done it before. He's done it before with players that were up for a big contract. And if that number didn't fit into their future plans, he had to make the hard decision. A Gibbs trade should only enter the conversation, like I said, if negotiations completely collapse and another team offers an extraordinary return, and that return would have to be 2 first-round draft picks. I don't think any running back in recent memory has received 2 first-round draft picks in a trade. We should probably do a check on that. Let's run a quick check. Let's see. So I'm going to look back to 2010. I think that's far enough to go back. We'll let it do its work and see what it comes up with. I've been trying out Perplexity for some football stuff, stats and whatnot. It's been doing a pretty good job, but like all the other ones, man, like AI has got its days. So anyway, the Gibbs trade. I don't think it's going to happen. Now let's talk about the contract. Even at today's press conference, right, Dan Campbell didn't really provide a timeline or any expectations for Gibbs' absence and whether he was going to be out there or not. He did, however, acknowledge the obvious, right, which was, quote, yesterday, of course, you guys know how we feel about Gibbs. This is both sides working through something, and then we'll take it as it comes. This is not confirmation that a deal is finished. It's not confirmation that a deal is anywhere near getting done, but it should get done, right? Dan said again this morning that a deal should get done. It'll get taken care of, exact words. It also is just confirmation that the negotiations are still active, which is good. They haven't broken down. But someone used a word in the chat called leverage, and Gibbs has the leverage, and here's why. Gibbs was taken 12th overall in 2023. He's reached Pro Bowl in each of his first 3 seasons. In 2025, he ran for 1,223 yards, 13 touchdowns. He also caught 77 passes for 616 yards and 5 scores last year. That produced 320 offensive touches, 1,839 yards from scrimmage, and 18 total touchdowns. Through the first 3 seasons of his career, through 49 games, Gibbs has accumulated 5,029 scrimmage yards, 49 touchdowns, more touchdowns than any other offensive player in the league. Over the last 2 seasons alone, he's produced 2,635 yards on the ground, 29 rushing touchdowns, 1,133 receiving yards, and 9 receiving TDs. That's real production you just can't find. Gibbs has already become one of football's most productive dual-threat running backs. His role should expand after Detroit traded David Montgomery to Houston. I feel that expansion is just snaps, not so much touches. The Lions added Pacheco on a 1-year deal. Sione Vaki, he remains the other complimentary option. We've now heard, after 1 day through training camp, that both those players have had elevated roles in different factors. Pacheco can absorb the physical carries, right? Well, that's what we're expecting when Gibbs is on the field. Vaki can provide the rotational touches, maybe near the goal line. But neither offer what Gibbs can do. A complete combination of acceleration, receiving ability, and proven production. And I think that's what gives Jahmyr Gibbs the most leverage, is that he is the most dynamic back in the league. Detroit made him the centerpiece. His reps want a contract that reflects that responsibility, especially now that the pads are coming on, right? You don't want to put him in harm's way when maybe he's not protected by a contract that at least gives him longevity should something happen. And that's probably the strongest argument when you start to talk about risk, right? Running backs absorb punishment faster than almost any other offensive position. So many running backs get injured every year. The earning windows for these guys are a little bit shorter. Their value can change with one significant lower body injury. Gibbs is now prepping for the heaviest workload of his career. Of course he wants to be paid. Let's get into my projection. Oh, before I do, I do want to say this. Brad Holmes kind of created this problem. He has repeatedly extended the foundational draft picks, his foundational draft picks before their rookie contracts expired. And so that's not a bad thing, right? What has he always said? We're going to draft you, we're going to develop you, and if you produce, we're going to pay you. We want to pay our own. We want to build a core. And that's exactly what Brad Holmes has done. But there's something else that he's done. He's made sure that these guys that have been producing get paid in their third year. Penei Sewell received an extension. Aiden Hutchinson received an extension. Amon-Ra St. Brown received an extension. Right? All of these players received extensions. Kirby Joseph received an extension. Now Gibbs has produced already. He's produced enough to expect that similar treatment, and that's what he's expecting. So it's kind of Brad Holmes' fault, right? The market supports the position too. You have two young dual threat running backs received, major extensions this offseason. Breece Hall, he signed a 3-year, $45.75 million contract, $15.25 million annually. Devon Achane signed a 4-year, $64 million extension, $16 million annually on average. Incentives obviously can increase both of their deals. Achane can sneak up to about $68 million. Gibbs has scored more career touchdowns than either player and both combined. He also has earned greater individual recognition through the first 3 seasons. Hall and Achane established a new floor for what it is to be a dual threat running back in the NFL. Gibbs has a legit argument to move well beyond that tier and reset the market. My biggest fear going into this season is that they were going to sign Jahmyr Gibbs before Bijan Robinson, right? Because he's under contract, right, for the next couple of years or for this year, next year. I wanted to see Bijan's number get done so that we had that new floor. Now, it could slap you in the face if that number is exponentially larger than what Breece Hall and Achane and others received this year. If you get Gibbs done first, maybe you can save a few bucks. But the more I think about it, I think that seeing Bijan Robinson get a deal done first may help. Then again, it may not. It's a crapshoot. It really is a crapshoot. The Lions really have to manage, a lot more than just one negotiation right now. As I mentioned earlier, you still have Sam Laporta, who's eligible. You have Brian Branch, who's eligible. And every dollar that's committed to either player affects future flexibility at all other positions. Look, Gibbs is elite. Running back production can decline quickly, especially with injury. Now the Lions have to project what Gibbs will become, not simply reward him for what he has already done. So the Lions have to see him operate? No, they don't need to see him operate anymore. They know who he is. They know exactly what kind of player he is. But what will he become? Because increased wear this year after the new load management, it's going to expose them to injury and future decline. Now, Detroit can fully argue or can argue that the fully guaranteed $14.3 million option is a meaningful protection for 2027. But what about beyond that? Right? The team can also argue that paying between $20.5 and $22.5 million per year would reset the market and require the Lions to trade away another asset. You remember the other day when I said we're going to lose somebody next year? I'm pretty confident we're going to lose somebody next year. One of the core could disappear unless they can somehow make all of these contracts work for at least one more season, which I'm kind of thinking they'll be able to do it because Dan and Brad aren't extended right now. They're going to have to do it, but they're going to have to make the playoffs. They're going to have to go deep this year for those guys to get extended. So the hold-in, it is what it is, right? It's understandable. I get it. But it does not mean that it doesn't come with consequences for either side, right? So here's the current market. It contains 4 important levels, in my opinion. And I put all this in a video the other day. So you have Breece Hall, right? He's that $15.25 million annually. You have Devon Achane. We'll just go with the $68 million number because that gives you the highest value for what he can potentially earn. He has $27.4 million in total guarantees and approximately $17.4 million at signing was guaranteed. And that $68 million is roughly $16 million per year on average. And I think when you start looking at the other guys that have recently signed extensions, Christian McCaffrey signed a 2-year $38 million. That's $19 million, right? And then you have Saquon Barkley. He signed a 2-year deal that was 41.2 or 20.6. $36 million guaranteed. Those are the numbers that I think you're looking at. I don't think that you're looking at 16 million or 17 million or 18 million or 19 million. I think it's going to start at 20.6 and go up. Why? Here's why. Gibbs is younger than McCaffrey and Barkley. McCaffrey has also produced a lot. But McCaffrey also has suffered some major injuries. And last year had a pretty decent year, but he suffered some major injuries. He's not the same player, and he got a decent deal before he suffered those injuries. And that's the real reason why Brad Holmes and other NFL teams hesitate to sign running backs to large deals. But Jahmyr Gibbs doesn't carry the same age-related concerns that Christian McCaffrey does. Like I said, he's younger than McCaffrey and Barkley. He also has not produced Barkley's 2,000-yard season. But mind you, Barkley's only had one great season in his career, and that was the year. He also hasn't carried the long-term workload that McCaffrey has. And I think that's what makes Gibbs difficult to price. When you add up all the different equations, HN, Hall, Barkley, McCaffrey, they're all different. They all do the same thing, and they're all at different stages of their career. So how do you price out Gibbs? I think he's going to surpass Hall and Achane with flying colors. Like I said, I expected the number to start at 20.6 and go up. So my projection, again, this is not a reported offer. I expect the eventual agreement to be a new 4-year deal. New 4-year deal. That's the key. Get rid of the 5th-year option. A new 4-year deal between $82 and $90 million. That is 82 and a half, if you will. It gets them above the 20.6 number. So really, you could say 83 and 90 million. That creates a new money average between plus 20.6 and 22.5 million a year. Let's just call it 21 million. That's probably where he's going to land. I think the compromise is the 4-year contract allows Brad Holmes and the Lions to add some void years. It gives them an opportunity to have a very low cap hit in year 1 in 2027. You give Gibbs a minimum signing bonus of that 14.3 that he would no longer have, plus 10% of the balance. So what would that be? Rough numbers. If he signed a $21 million deal over 4 years, so 4 years, $84 million, minus 14.3 times 10% is 6.9. So you're going to give him $21.25 million in a signing bonus. You're going to give him $84 million in all new money. A brand new 4-year deal. He's going to average $21 million annually, but he is going to have incentives that could creep up to $90 million over the life of the deal. I think that the practical guarantees are going to be about 45%. 45% of the 84. Probably in that $35 to $40 million range is where the guarantees are going to be. And if you look at the guarantees that Brad Holmes has done with Aiden Hutchinson, like Aiden has new guarantees every year. They didn't guarantee everything at signing. They pay guarantees out after every year. That was a very smart way of doing his deal. If the same thing with Kirby Joseph, his was all backloaded. And even then he doesn't have a ton of guarantees until later. So same thing here with Gibbs. I think it's going to be structured the same way. It's going to be backloaded. I think you give him new money. Same thing they kind of did with Jack Campbell. But the reason why they picked up Jahmyr Gibbs' 5th-year option is because they didn't have a choice. They had to do it. They were going to get the deal done with Jack. So I think you rip up the 5th-year option and then you give him a brand new 4-year deal, $84 million. $21.25 million signing bonus, takes care of that 14.3 fully guaranteed 5th-year option, and you move forward. I think that's the number, y'all. I think that's where it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be less than any of the running backs in the league currently. What are your thoughts? What do you think? I mean, you do it this way, the Lions can convert a lot of that salary into signing bonus options later too, right? When they need to make things happen. Let me get Spotrac up and let's see how this looks on the Lions books. Where the hell is Spotrac? Let me take a brief break. I'll be right back. We're going to jump into the Lions books on Jahmyr Gibbs. Let me know your thoughts on Jahmyr Gibbs. What are your predictions? Leave it in the comments below. Make sure you hit Madden 27 in your comment as well and get entered in for the Madden 27 giveaway. We'll be right back. We're going to dive into the books next.
Every day, thousands of people are discovering Uper Lights, Michigan's newest, funnest rock to go find on the shores of the Great Lakes. Don't go out with just any light. Try the Convoy C8 from UperLights.com. It's guaranteed for life, and you'll find all the ones everyone else misses. Quality UV lights that are perfect for Uper Lights with prices starting as low as $20. Please make sure to visit UperLights.com for all your UV flashlight needs with the best guarantees on the market. Just what you wanted and not what you didn't. The best quality, the best guarantees, and the best UV flashlights from UperLights.com.
The season is here, and you want the latest news and rumors on your Detroit Lions. Head to SportsSpider.com. That's sports, SPYDER.com, where you can get your Lions news and all your sports in one place. Man, this site is packed with your favorite podcasts, live news, articles from local writers, and insiders, all updating in real time. Not just the Lions, every major sports team, including MMA, UFC, and so much more. Don't want to waste time searching? Sign up for free. Create your ultimate sports news hub. You control what hits your feed at SportsSpider, your number one source for all your sports. Visit SportsSpider.com today, right after the show. All right, and one more before we get into Spotrac here. If you guys are in the greater Grand Rapids area, I'd like for you guys to give CJM Detailing a ring today. If you'd like to get your vehicle, your boat, whatever it is, detailed. They do a wonderful job. They're going to come out to your home, your work, wherever. They bring all their own water. It's a full truck with all of the products necessary to detail your vehicle. They are running a sports special right now on their bronze package. If you use discount code DFJ Sports when you check out on their website, you're going to get 20% off right now. I'm sorry, $25 off their bronze package. That is CJM Detailing, and you can find them at CJMAutoDetailing.com. Again, that's CJMAutoDetailing.com. Greater Grand Rapids area, young entrepreneur at just 19 years old, came out to my house yesterday, did a fantastic job on Megan's vehicle. She's listening right now. Now she knows her surprise when she gets home. But they did a fantastic job on her vehicle. It was my birthday, but I gave my gift away to her. And they did a wonderful job. Like I said, they rolled out the red carpet, man. They brought all their tools, all their tricks. A big giant white truck with a trailer that was loaded with water, pressure, sprayers, everything to do a full detailing job inside and out. Wax, you name it. They carbon treatments or not, maybe not carbon. What is it called? I forget what it's called. Some sort of a treatment on your vehicle's paint to make it look nice. It lasts a few months. Obviously extends the life of your vehicles, your paint job and that. But anyway, give them a shout. CJM Detailing, autodetailing.com. CJM autodetailing.com. We'll get them loaded up here with an ad for the next couple of months. Again, if you're in the greater Grand Rapids area, give them a ring today. You can book right online. 5 stars. Make sure I get my review in there, man. They did an excellent job. All right, Spot Track. Let's do it. Let's make sure this thing is buttoned up for us. Okay, so right now, your Lions cap table, they have $344.396 million in total cap allocations. They only have $15.35 million in total cap space, which puts them right around the middle of the league at 19th. Dead cap number this year, $33.13 million. That's a lot of money. I don't know why we have so much dead cap this year. I haven't looked. So if we want to manage the roster and we want to extend Jahmyr Gibbs, we're going to customize. Let's see. It says to perform a quick extension. You guys can't see that. It says to perform a quick extension. Why can't you see that? Let's roll it down. You'll override the current cap hit with what you'd like the new cap hit for 2026 to be based on the current contract structure. I don't want to do that. I want to be able to wipe out the 27. Let's do 4 years. We'll add the 4 years. What is the new value? We're going to go $84 million. We're going to give him a signing bonus of $21.25 million. We'll let that base salary number be low. We'll just go $3 million as a base. I'm sure that they'll work their magic. Let's sign it that way and just see what happens. So that would inflate his number for this year. So I'd give him a cap hit in 2026 of $9 million. Why does it say only 2 years contract remaining? That doesn't make any sense. That's not what I signed. It's not what I did. What am I missing? Did I not put the right amount of years in? Let's try that again. Jahmyr Gibbs. We're going to sign him to an extension. So market value is 3 years, $60.48 million. So there you go. There's his market value according to Spotrac. So that is over $20 million per year. You see that on the right side there? This screen is just driving me nuts. I think I just need to start going full screen and take my video off. And make it a lot easier. So a 3-year extension, his new cap hit would be 4.9 this year. It would have a dead cap hit of 19.97. What are the reserve actions? Injure, NFI, pup, suspend, left. He hasn't done any of those, thankfully. All right, let's try this again. Let's do an extension. We'll do a customized extension. We're going to go 4 years. I don't think I put that in there. Yes. New value, $84 million. Signing bonus, $21.25. Base salary, we'll just go $3 million. And we're going to sign the extension. Come on, I want to be able to go back and forth. Why is this being dumb? There it goes. It's still saying 2 years remaining. I don't understand that. It's not accurate. Or I'm just an idiot. Let's do it this way. Where is Gibbs on this one? I don't want to propose a trade. Let's go back to this. Manage roster. I want to see what it looks like, after the next, couple of seasons. Let me just open up Jahmyr Gibbs. Let me see if I can do it this way. So his current market value, again, $20.2 million according to Spotrac. I think it's going to be north of 20.6. I think he's going to be closer to 21 million than he's not. Here's all the top contracts in the league that they're valuing him against. Saquon Barkley, Christian McCaffrey, James Cook, Jonathan Taylor. I, of course, had Christian McCaffrey and Saquon in there, but I put Achane and Breece Hall in there because those are the newest contracts. Statistical comparisons, it's not even close, right? Snap percentage, Jahmyr Gibbs, 59.45%. Average between all the other guys that they're comparing him against is 63.2. So he's about 4% off, 4% less snaps than those guys. Rush yards per game, he's at 77.5. The average with those guys is 84.41. But I think that the major difference here is when you start to get into receptions per game, receiving yards per game. I think that Jahmyr Gibbs is a little bit better, right? He's averaging 33 point. Where is he at? Right here. 33.32 yards per game receiving. The average between those four guys is 24.35. I'm on the bottom right of my screen. Of course, Christian McCaffrey, he averages the most. I mean, he really brings the floor up for all the rest of the guys. Barkley's only averaging about 18.6. Cook is averaging about 21.3. And Taylor's averaging about 17.9. Jahmyr Gibbs, 33.32. That's a big difference. Now, that's over his entire career, right? That's over his entire career, or how many years is that? That's just 24 and 25, according to this. Why do they have 24 and where's 23? Unless they took the best 2 years, they must have just taken the best 2 years. Gibbs' rating is an 87. The highest rating is McCaffrey at 89.75. So again, I'm putting him above Christian McCaffrey. I mean, that's the closest comparison I think you have to salary. Now, I thought there was a way to manage his contract in this one. Maybe not. Calculated market average, 3 years, $60.48 million, $20.16 million. All right, I'm done managing it because I'm not going to be able to figure it out today. I'll have to go back and look at it again another day and figure it out. And I'll maybe today I'll have some time and try to do a video on it. So there you go. With $21 million added to the Lions salary cap, how are they going to be able to get everybody done? What is season mode? Am I signed in? Oh, I'm not signed in. That's probably why I'm not getting all the tools. I see what's going on. It's making me sign up all over again. They've changed everything. Let me put a card in real quick. Give me 1 sec, guys. I'll be right back.
Throwing middle, caught inside the 5. Jahmyr Gibbs to the end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. 14 yards on the strike. Goff to Gibbs. You can't cover that man one-on-one. You just can't do it.
Nice job.
Jared takes the snap back, looking, throwing middle. Got Amon-Ra inside the 2, to the 1, to the end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. Amon-Ra, St. Brown. Amon-Ra, St. Brown.
Nice job.
Mariota's got it back. Pressure comes. He's hit. Slips out of it. Rolling to his right. Now he's going down. Brian Branch got him. Sack for the Lions. Snap taken by Mariota. Wants to throw it. Gonna get hit. Gonna get sacked.
Yes,
Take it down. Brian Branch got him second time today.
Nice
Where's my black card at?
Hands it to Gibbs, running right, runs through a tackle, gets down to the 10, Gibbs through the 5, still fighting, down to the 2, down to the 1, to the end zone! Yes. Touchdown, Detroit Lions! He did not quit!
Nice job.
Off to throw again, does, middle, J-Mo angling to the end zone, touchdown Detroit Lions! J-Mo flips into the end zone.
All right, we got it figured out. I think I'm signed in now. I think. They've changed everything. Ridiculous. All right, I am signed in now. All right, here we go. Big shout out to Fish and Fred, man. Just sent out five memberships. Appreciate you doing that, buddy. Giving everybody an opportunity. Better download this receipt real quick. All right, now maybe we can get somewhere. But again, I'm gonna do this a little bit later. So after kind of going through this, we've looked at what Spotrac is saying. Jahmyr Gibbs should get paid, or at least what his market value is. Now that I'm signed in, the Lions cap space has dropped. Just a minute ago, it was at 15 million. Now it's at 10 million. What just happened? One page shows 15.35. A different page shows 10 million. And it's both for the top 51 cap space. I doubt that Gibbs' deal was just done, and that's why there's a change. I don't think that they would have the information that fast. Lions currently have 89 players on their roster as I last checked, so it looks like there's still one player available for the Lions to add at any point in time. Kind of the same tricks that Brad Holmes has been using each and every year. No, it wasn't the rookies because they've been accounted for. It could just be that their page is off. Let me just do the extension at the market value. And it used to let you go to year by year by year. And I'm not seeing that option anymore. So if they did sign him right now to the extension that Spotrac is thinking is commensurate to his value, that would only drop the Lions cap space by about $3 million this year, which is great, right? I mean, typically in your first year, you lose a whole lot. It's bonus money that's going out. But my question is, what happens then in 2026? Or 2027, and it's not letting me forward. It's not letting me go forward. I want to see what happens in the next years. Let's just take a look at their contract or their cap space anyway. So this will give us a better conversation at least when we're discussing what's going to happen in future years. So this is Lions' current cap space, current contracts as it sits. In 2026, the Lions are sitting at $344.396 million in total cap allocations. They have $15.35 million available. When we go to 27 without any new players signed or any other new deals for anybody, the Lions gain, they go up to $46.39 million. And $276.6 million in allocation. The dead cap number is all the way down to $1.8 million, so that's a great way to start off the season. But who did we lose? Right? How many players do we have signed? And all right, so we lost Terry and Arnold. I think that's where that big cap hit's coming from potentially for this year. Let me go back to last year. Let's look at cap hit, dead cap hit. All right, here's all our dead cap for this year. Taylor Decker's 9.4. Terry and Arnold cost us 6.6. David Montgomery was 4.8. DJ Reader 3.7. Frank Ragnow 3.6. Graham Glasgow 2.8. Alex Anzalone 1.2. And then a lot of guys under 300,000. You have Hendon Hooker, Broderick Martin, Ahmed Hassanin, Jackson Meeks, Jacoby Keeney James, Keith Cooper, Zach Horton, Anthony Tyus, Mason Miller, Ian Kennelly, Gavin Holmes, and Nate Lynn. So that gets cleaned up next year. As of right now, before the Lions make any moves for next year, dead cap number drops all the way to 1.8. And that is just for Terry and Arnold and his cap hit for 2027. And then TA drops off the books officially. So 2027, I'm looking for the number of players signed, and I don't see it. It's right there. 41 players. So that's a good spot to be in. Look, having 41 players signed before you have to do any sort of drafts. Hold on. before they have to do any drafts, sign any free agents. The Lions hit the ground running with 41 players, so that's a good position to be in. So if they bring in 7 drafted players, that puts them at 48. They only have 3 more players to get to that top 51. So if Jahmyr Gibbs gets this extension, hold on. Hold on. Brief break. Be right back.
Throwing middle, caught inside the 5. Jahmyr Gibbs to the end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. 14 yards on the strike. Goff to Gibbs. You can't cover that man one-on-one. You just can't do it.
Nice job.
Jared takes the snap back, looking, throwing middle. Got Amon-Ra inside the 2, to the 1, to the end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. Amon-Ra, St. Brown. Amon-Ra, St. Brown.
Nice job.
Mariota's got it back. Pressure comes. He's hit. Slips out of it. Rolling to his right. Now he's going down. Brian Branch got him. Sack for the Lions. Snap taken by Mariota. Wants to throw it. Gonna get hit. Gonna get sacked.
Yes,
Take it down.
sir.
Brian Branch got him second time
All right.
today.
Real quick, I just want to make sure I get
Nice
this managed right. So on the other YouTube channel right now, for whatever reason, I'm not getting all the chats. So it looks like there's people in the other channel right now. There's only 2 people in there, and I'm not able to see those chats. So this is new. We're streaming to all different channels now. I've got to get things fixed, right? So I like Lions debate talk. I can't see your chats over here, so don't take it personal. Anybody else that's in there, Joseph Ostin, I can't see yours. Nate M, I can't see yours, and I apologize. So I will try to get that fixed today. Rule has always been you can use caps if you're asking a question. You can use caps if you want me to see a statement, but we don't just do it for everything. But yes, absolutely, please use caps if you want me to try to answer to something. When I'm talking, going through things, I typically don't see the chat. When I take a break, right, when I get out of talking about whatever I want to talk about, I take that break and try to get into the chat. So my apologies that I can't see your stuff this morning. We'll get it fixed for tomorrow. Today's been kind of an awkward day anyway. Anyway, I was trying to go through this roster on Spotrac to kind of see what Jahmyr Gibbs' potential would be to impact the salary cap. Unfortunately, I couldn't extend his roster or extend his contract and then see what would happen with the cap situation. I'll try to get that fixed later on today. I'm going to reach out to Spotrac and ask him why it's not working. I've always been able to go through year by year after you make a change. Maybe they remove that from the site, or maybe I don't see why it's not working. Cam Sutton this year? No, I didn't see him on the books. As a matter of fact, I have not heard anything about Cam Sutton as far as the Lions getting that refund. Remember, they're supposed to get like a $10 million refund after arbitration was done. The Lions had to hold 60% or so in a reserve account, and there's just been no talk about it. No idea what happened. Maybe the Lions just decided to pay it and walk away. I don't know. No idea. No idea. Aaron Green says, no matter how much he signs for, this contract starts a timer for this team. It's just not sustainable. Yeah, exactly right, man. And to that end, this is why you can't sign big-time free agents. This is why I have said for 3 years or 3 seasons now, when everyone's out there, pumping their chest and extending their, their how do I say it? I don't want to say opinions. They're clickbait. We'll just say that about Myles Garrett, Trey Hendrickson, right? I don't care. You throw the name out there. It doesn't matter who the name is. When they're looking at trying to bring in all these big name players, we know Max Crosby was never going to happen. Obviously, Brad Holmes said that. And the people out there purporting that kind of stuff are just, they're not professional, right? They're just putting out clickbait because they're trying to grow something unnaturally. And I've always stood here firm that the Lions would never sign a big time free agent like that because of this very season right here. I kept trying to explain to everybody, just look forward. If you think that these players are good now, and it was their rookie year, their second year, what do you think's going to happen when we have to pay these guys? You want to keep them, right? And so I've always said, if you want to keep these guys, you can't go out and sign the big guys, the big numbers. And do we really need them? No, we don't. But had you have signed one of those players, you could be waving bye-bye right now to Jahmyr Gibbs. You could be waving bye-bye to Brian Branch or Sam Laporta. And after this season, I think that the Lions are going to be having to wave bye-bye to somebody. Gibbs' deal and then one or both of the deals with Brian Branch and Sam Laporta are going to cause a problem. I think Brad Holmes is going to pull off a major trade next spring. Clip this, save it, bookmark it, whatever. Here's the call. In 2027, after the Lions complete their extension, if they get one done with Gibbs, after they complete their extension, if they get one done with Branch, after they complete their extension, if they get one done with Laporta, somebody is going to get traded next year. I don't care if it's Aiden, if Kirby's healthy, Brian Branch, Laporta, J-Mo, somebody's going to get traded. And I think they're going to get traded because they need to refill the pipeline. And I think Brad Holmes understands and knows first-round draft picks in his possession work out for the most part. We've only had one first-round draft pick not work out in 5 drafts. 21, 2, 3, 4, 5, now 6 drafts, right? We've only had one not work out in 6 drafts. And that was due to their stupidity and potential legal issues, yada, yada. You get it. But it wasn't due to performance on the field because when Arnold was playing, he was actually playing pretty well when he was healthy, right? When he didn't bum up his shoulder, he was doing good. He was doing a lot better than all, the other guys on the squad. So we lost a good one that in his 3rd season this year probably would have been one of the better cornerbacks in the league. And now we'll find out in about 14 days in his first hearing, kind of where that's all going. And I do plan to be live for that. I'm just uniquely interested to watch it. So this is where we are, right? 2026, you have to sign Gibbs. Laporta and Branch most likely are going to get added to that equation at some point. And I think both those players are going to have to play before they get signed. So the call is this. Next year, the Lions are going to have to trade someone because Brad Holmes has to refill that pipeline with another first-round draft pick that they can then keep under a cheap contract for at least 3 years, or at least 2 now, potentially 3 years, and keep this thing moving forward. Because if you don't have first-round draft picks on cheap deals that are good players, and you're not developing 2nd through 7th rounders, which we have been, then he needs to hit on a few of those 2nd through 7th rounders that he's drafted over the last 3 seasons, 24, 25, and 26. Some of those 2nd through 7th rounders are going to have to be really good football players. And I think when you identify who we have now, there's a couple of candidates, right? There absolutely is a couple of candidates, but we'll see where it goes. Not including the guys that we already know are good, right? Brian Branch, Sam Laporta, not including those guys. That they're from 23 anyway. But anyway, moving forward, the Lions have 41 signed in 2027. What happens in 2028? Because that's the number I pay attention to. When you have a lower number, damn, 35? That's still a really good number to start the season with. If you go back in other years, when we started the season, I wonder if this has historical references in it. I wonder if it does. Because if you go back to like 21, 22, 23, the Lions were not starting with but like 20 guys. Like 22, 23, 21, 19. We had to bring in a lot of guys in 21 and 22. And now that core is getting deeper and deeper and deeper. And when you start with 35 guys or 41 guys, and the majority of those guys are all starters that are covering every position and some of the backups, that's in a really good place to be. So Brad's pipeline is full, for the upper half of the roster. It's the bottom half of the roster that you have to worry about entering 2028, because 2027, we still have 41 signed. Let's move to 2029. We're probably going to have a massive drop off. Yeah, 20 players. That's where we were in 21. We had like 20 players. But who do we have? Look who we have. Hutch, Sewell, Campbell, Williams, Joseph, Goff, Miller, Reed, Moore, McNeil, Mays, Barnes, St. Brown, Jimmy Rolder. Actually, their numbers are in orange. Why are they in orange? Are those void years? Those are void years, so they're not on. We don't have Goff. We don't have Reed. We don't have McNeil. We don't have Mays. We don't have Barnes. We don't have Amon-Ra St. Brown. But this is the next wave. Jimmy Rolder, Keith Abney, Kendrick Law, if he works out, Skylar Gill-Howard, right? All of your rookies that we just signed, Tyleik Williams. But we still obviously have Blake Miller, Derek Moore, Kirby, J-Mo, Jack, Panay, and Aiden. So, those are your 4 or 5 guys right there as your main core from the old group. And then your new group, the guys that the guys that they just drafted, are going to have to start to lead the future. So you have to do something between now and 2029, right? Well, of course they will. But those are the numbers that I start to pay attention to. How many guys do we have signed going into the season? DJ Reed won't be there in 28. Derek Barnes won't be there in 28. Brock Wright won't be there in 28, at least not signed. Who knows if they'll be back? 2027, we only have Brock Wright that's off the list. Everybody else is there. So at some point, you're going to have to realize that the roster is going to get too expensive, and you're going to have to do something to refill it. And you're going to have to refill it with high-quality football players, man. Just like having good, high-quality H2O. All right, what else you want to talk about? K-Biz, which year does that say Jared Goff at $96 million? Which year? 28? Probably. No, $69 million. $69 million. Dyslexia is probably kicking in because my screen's a little blurry, right? $69 million in 28. I think it's $69 million in 27. $62 million in 27. 2026, remember he took that signing bonus or conversion bonus to $37.6 million this year. Like that's incredibly inexpensive. Yeah, the piper gets paid, right? Or you got to pay the piper at some point for Jared Goff. And eventually what's going to happen, I think, after next year, is Jared Goff, if he's still playing well, could get another deal. And you just got to kick the can down the road. But I mean, look at some of these numbers this year. 2026, Amon-Ra St. Brown's cap hit's $33 million. Aleem McNeil's 28.9. Penei Sewell's 28. DJ Reed is 17.8. Aiden Hutchinson's only 10. Derek Barnes, 9.7. Jamison Williams, 8.2. Sam Laporta, 6.7. Right? Very affordable guys that are producing at a high level. Jack Campbell, because he signed a new deal, his number's really low at 4.8. Paying these guys this year, I mean, look at these numbers. How are you ever going to fit another $55 million a year guy, $50 million a year guy, or a $45 million a year guy in Max Crosby, any other names, Myles Garrett, any other names you want to throw in there? It was never going to happen. is a pipe dream. And it's just analysts, people, fans, whatever, that just don't understand how the roster works. Like, there's just no way you can fit that. The only way you can fit it is if they're willing to renegotiate their deal. I'm not even showing you the damn thing. Hold on. It's the only way that you can get that to fit is if they get a new deal. Here's the numbers that I was showing you. Amon-Ra St. Brown, $33 million this year. Ali McNeil, 28.9. Penei Sewell, 28. DJ Reed, 17.8. Aiden's only 10. Derek Barnes, 9.8. J-Mo, 8.3. Sam Laporta, 6.8. Brian Branch, 6.5. Jahmyr Gibbs, 5.7. All great numbers besides your top 5 or 6 guys. But please insert $50 million somewhere in here, for one of the other guys, Max Crosby, Trey Hendrickson, any of them, right? I'll trade didn't get anywhere close to that, but you understand what I'm saying. If you wanted to bring in Myles Garrett, Micah Parsons, or Max Crosby, like I was saying, they'd have to be willing to convert their contract into a new contract and then give you the benefit of the cap hit. They'd want a lot more guaranteed. They'd want a lot more guaranteed at signing. They'd want a bigger signing bonus. And those are all real constraints that start at the top, because anytime you add a big deal in, remember this. Remember what changed. Remember what changed last year, I believe. I think it was last year. It could have been the year before. That now all team owners have to put every guaranteed dollar in escrow. Every guaranteed dollar in escrow. And on an NFL roster, that is north of $500 million or more. So these owners have to have real cash, sitting in a bank account to cover all of these guarantees. And so if you're going to bring in a guy that's making $200 million over the next 4 years and it's not a quarterback, and half of that's guaranteed, that's another $100 million that they got to pony up and put into an account. So all of those things are real and things that people don't talk about because they don't understand it or they don't know about it, whatever the case may be. Not a lot of people know that information. And that's why when I look at things like this, I'm like, there's just no way. There's no way. It'll never happen. Not when you have the level of talent and the type of contracts that the Lions do have. Yeah, we've never had a top 5 tight end like Sam Laporta. Not since like Charlie Sanders. He revolutionized the tight end position way back when. May he rest in peace, man. He lost his battle with cancer. I think it was about a year and a half after he was diagnosed. Mega deals, you don't restructure mega deals. Well, you do. I mean, they just did with Jared Goff. They just did it. That was more of a conversion. But, yeah, sometimes when players get traded, a new deal is put in place. And there's multiple reasons for that. One, they want a new deal because they feel like they're underpaid. And two, the team will negotiate ahead of the trade a new deal to fit what the player wants and what the team can afford and to make it fit within their constraints, right? There was something that we were looking up earlier, and I was asking if there was 2 first-round picks that ever went to a running back in a trade. And since 2010, from January of 2010 through July 30th of 2026, no NFL team has ever received 2 actual first-round draft picks in exchange for an established running back. The strongest modern precedents are Trent Richardson in 2013. Cleveland received 1 2014 first-round pick from Indianapolis, and he remains the most recent running back traded for even 1 actual first-round selection. Christian McCaffrey in 2022, Carolina received a 2nd, a 3rd, and a 4th round, plus a 2024 5th-round pick. And that package was sometimes described as approximately equivalent to a late first-round pick in aggregate value. But no first-round draft picks were contained in that trade. The most recent established running back to ultimately return 2 first-round selections was Ricky Williams back in 2002. Miami initially sent New Orleans a 2002 first, a conditional 2003 third, and a 4th-round pick exchange. Williams met the performance conditions, causing the 203 pick to escalate into another first-rounder. The Saints, therefore, ultimately received 2 first-round picks, but it was never in the initial deal, right? It was if then two kind of deal. So yeah, I don't see where Gibbs could be traded. I mean, unless Brad Holmes is okay with getting a first and a second or a first and a third, which I don't think helps us. Not right now. Not in 26. It doesn't help us. And, I mean, here's at the end of the day, I don't know if anyone's mentioned this either. Look, if Gibbs decides to sit out and Brad Holmes does not do a deal and does not trade him, Gibbs ultimately won't get paid. He'll have to sit out through the rest of the year unpaid. Let me look up that rule real quick. Yeah, Ricky Williams was never the same running back after that and was tangled up in Mary Jane. Who's Mary Jane? Oh, you're talking about the 420. Yeah, that shit's ain't nothing wrong with that. I don't partake personally, but Calvin Johnson does. I was in his factory. 2020, I think, is when it first started to get up and going, and I had to do a blind. Oh my God, why can't I think of it right now? My memory is running for shit lately. A blind bid. So I walked through a factory, which was going to be a 420 factory. And then later I found out that it was his, or he had something to do with it. And his products, I mean, they're revolutionary from what I hear. I don't know anything really outside of that, but I mean, there's a lot of good medical benefits to that stuff now. But the market, for that stuff is just crazy. I mean, what used to be $400 an ounce years ago is like $40. Like, that's just nuts. I can't believe it. How times have changed. Yeah, it definitely wasn't okay back then. It's different now. Stigma back then was crazy. But you know what? If it helps players with their pain and they're, I think they're allowed to do certain things. Like, I don't even think the NFL tests for it anymore. So be it, man. It's better than popping pills and taking Toradol all the time. Those anti-inflammatories really mess you up over time. I'm not being political, but apparently Tylenol does too. I haven't really spent any time on that. So Gibbs is going to sit out 3 years because I'm tagging him twice. Jeez. That's rough, Aaron Green. But it's realistic. So I got another message in right now. I'm checking on the current CBA language on the hold-in status and how it's treated at a holdout at some point, if it ever is, and what the consequences are if Gibbs sits out long enough and doesn't play. Okay. Here's the defining factor. I'll do a video on this later to explain it a little bit more. If the Lions excuse the non-participation for Jahmyr Gibbs or formally declares it, right, unexcused, refusal to perform contract services, that's when things get dicey, right? Not expecting it to go that far, but I think it's a good conversation to have. And I'll do that a little bit later. But when the team permits a hold-in, then the player can remain present without practicing while the team lists him as injured, rehabbing, conditioning, or otherwise excused. You remember I started laughing during Dan Campbell's press conference this morning because of the proverbial hamstring that all hold-in players end up having, or holdouts end up having. I got a hamstring, got a hammy. I can't practice, coach, got a hammy. Why do they use soft tissue? Because things like that, you really can't, image, a strained hammy. That's not going to show up a whole lot unless it's, ripped. So, or micro tears. Everyone's going to have micro tears that play sports. So anyway, the player can remain present at practice if the team lists them, with some sort of a list. And in that situation, that there's generally no holdout fines. The contract does not automatically toll. That's another thing. And then there is no NFL deadline forcing them to miss the season. The club can end the accommodation and order him to practice at any time. And that is why hold-ins work. Both sides temporarily avoid escalating the dispute. So when the team declares missed practices as unexcused and reporting to camp, kind of protects the player from being treated as completely absent. But reporting does not create a contractual right to refuse practice. An unexcused missed mandatory practice is also subject to progressive club discipline, and under the 2026 current CBA schedule, a maximum fine for the category is $16,984,000, with progressive discipline escalating from 40% of the maximum to 70%. And then 100%. I'm not sure what that means yet, but I'll find out later. I don't wonder if they're talking about 100% of his pay. After repeated violations, the club can classify the conduct as detrimental. And then the CBA says that escalation cannot occur before the player's fourth qualifying violation in the same league year. I don't think we're ever going to get to that point. But again, it is a good conversation just to understand, because when's the last time the Lions have had a hold-in other than Alex Anzalone, right? And that was not a player that many of us were expecting to last much longer anyway. So when the regular season base salary begins with regular season game checks, that is when a player's base salary is divided into 18, regular season weeks. A suspension or otherwise permissible withholding of salary can cost him that week's game check. So a hold-in during July or August does not normally mean he is surrendering any pay. When week 1 arrives, an unresolved refusal can become extremely expensive, and that's when he's going to stop getting paychecks. So some very interesting things can happen. Look, I don't think it's going to go that far. I don't really. There's one thing that'll always stick out to me, and that's what Brad Holmes said a couple years ago. And he said, do you ever expect to have a problem with, players holding out? And I think he was asked about St. Brown at that time. And, the answer that he gave was generalized, but he said, if we didn't do the right work on our players, then yeah, we could have that, but we feel like we've done the right work, and that's why these guys are in the building. We don't expect that to ever happen. Well, now it's happening. And it's happening with a player that Amon-Ra St. Brown said wouldn't happen to. So at least he's holding in and he's not holding out. At least he's there and he's not absent from the team. But holding the team hostage like this is, sometimes it can have major repercussions with the locker room. I don't expect that to happen either. All right. I'm all out of things for the day. I got to get to work. Got to get some things rolling. So you guys have a good rest of your day. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll have a better show tomorrow. Be back. I'm sorry, tonight for the post-practice points, the announcements. Maybe we'll have 30 more points today. Maybe not. We'll see. but we'll probably be back around that 7 p.m.-ish time frame to get it rolling. So you guys have a good rest of your day today, and we'll catch you later on this evening. Adios.